And we are now live. Welcome to the first of many broadcasts on building your business. Many of you have talked to you for years about starting a side hustle, about starting something small, having a cash business. You know I'm a big fan that every man should have a profession and a trade, something that you can fall back on. Something that could be pandemic proof, something that could be snowstorm proof, something that could be the water main broke proof. Nothing will get in the way of your revenue. And that's what we're all about when we talk business here. And I want to welcome two of the guys that are in my mastermind group that I attend. It's the Impact Mastermind that I attend once a month. You have heard me talk about this. I'm a big fan of mastermind groups because we all have blind spots, and other people can see things that you can't see. And the other thing is this: when it comes to a mastermind group, I've heard it said that if you are the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. So I made sure I picked a group of people that are smarter than me. So that is one thing you have to do. This group here, we are all, many of us, I'd say there's about a good 12 to 15 regulars that come to the group. Some will skip a month or two or whatever. But there probably, over the years, there probably have been hundreds that have kind of come and gone from the group and took what they needed and such. And it's run by our fearless leader and colleague and mentor and friend, Ken MacArthur, that we all think very highly of. In the mastermind group, we're all working on our first 10 million. That's what I like to say. People say, why do you go to a mastermind group? That it's my $10 million group. They're going to help me get there. And that's what we're going to be talking about. And you have to master the basics. And we're going to talk about some of those basics. So I have two guests here. Dan Jones, also known as Jonesy, and Frank Garin. So Dan, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me on, George. I'm Jonesy. I am a serial entrepreneur in the digital marketing space. Left my 9-to-5 a few years ago to take the entrepreneurial journey. Went solo. So from there, I branched into marketing consulting. I run the digital marketing agency. And most recently, I have an online marketing platform where we teach digital marketing to entrepreneurs and solopreneurs and small businesses, how to drive traffic and growth in any market. Like you talk about, George, we're not going to let anything get between you and your revenue. And that's with my partner, Frank, here.
Excellent. Frank.
Good to be here, and thanks for having us, George. Yeah, my name's Frank Garin. Been full-time 26 years on the internet, earning an income several different ways, my own products, my own seminars and conferences, trainings, etc., particularly in the United Kingdom. And the past few years, I have added a full-time real estate investor role to myself. So I had 3 minutes of spare time a week, and I said, hey, I know what I'll do. I'll take on another 40 hours and try to make it fit. So that's what I've been doing. Yeah. And this conversionchemistry.com that Jonesy and I are doing, it's really a labor of love because I do my best working with somebody, George, meaning like time management, having somebody to be accountable to. Because one of the things I remember when I came home full time from driving a truck 26 years ago was, my God, I have all this time and I'll get to everything and this and that. If you don't have somebody or something to be accountable to, you're screwed basically, because you're going to lose day after day, week after week, and not have much to show for it. And that's me talking from experience. So we're going to talk about some mistakes and some things to watch out for. I promise you, I've made all these more than once, and Dan tells me he has as well. So a lot of this is going to feel very familiar to anybody listening to this that is a an entrepreneur, a marketer, a small business owner, etc.?
Yeah, I think it's going to be like a 12-step group. I'm going to be like, my name is George, and I've made all these mistakes. And as I was going through that list, I'm like, guilty, 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 guilty. So I'm glad, you can't attack something unless you name the problem. And I think that's something that's going to be good for us to do. But Frank, one of the things that you like to say, and I at least, when I attend the mastermind group, I just wait for the moment where you say that you were a truck driver who, what is that? How's that line go?
Oh, a bankrupt truck driver from New Jersey who went broke trying to make money online, finally figured it out, and made over 6 figures a year online.
I love that. You know what? To me, that's the ultimate elevator pitch. Rather than sitting there, it's a story. A bankrupt truck driver from New Jersey. I mean, and that is a hook. That just grabs people. That grabs people. So what you're saying is you don't have to have a PhD in information technology to do this, Dan?
That's a hard no, bro. What you need is what all entrepreneurs typically have, which is motivation and drive. And we're going to get into what the 10 fatal errors are, but there is clear paths and strategies and steps that we can take to not only mitigate those or prevent them, but overcome to then become successful. So that's one of the things I always kind of hone in on with entrepreneurs is there's always a motivation, right? It always seems, okay, I'm willing to work for myself. In my case, I was a captive employee. And when I say captive, I can mean it in any context you want. Like I was working full time for a company. But the reality is I was a captive, right? I was making somebody else rich and not myself. And now I can do both without a PhD. I have an associate's degree. All right. And that was only because a company was paying for it at the time. Otherwise, I probably would have never got it. And just, I'm perpetually curious, always in a learning and growth state. So I've got a bunch of certificates and take courses all the time. Mentorships, masterminds. I crowdsource my learning that way from vetted individuals, including, both of you gentlemen. Frank actually is my mentor. So, I feel like in the past year, I've been shooting threes all day long because I connected with both of you and, not only get the mentorship from what I call one of the OG internet marketers, Frank Garin, right? So, when Frank wrote this list, it used to be the 5 fatal errors entrepreneurs make until he met me. And I filled out the other 5 pretty quickly. And then we identified them and overcame them. But now I get to be in a partnership in conversion chemistry with them. How awesome is that?
Oh, that's pretty darn cool. That is. What you said reminded me of a joke where the guy parks his car and he's walking into work, and the boss pulls up in a Lamborghini, gets out of the car, and the employee says, "Man, that is a really nice car." And the boss says, "Oh, why, thank you." And he goes, "If you get to work on time, be dedicated, and just work, do the work, stay focused, I'll be able to get another one next year."
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And George, for me, I loved driving a tractor trailer. It was very manly, very just driving. And my last truck was so nice. I had a brand new Mack truck, cruise control, tilt steering, heated mirrors, lumbar seat. It was nicer than my car or truck at the time, right? But it was working for other people. I couldn't do it anymore. My last full-time job, I was either going to shoot my boss or shoot me or shoot the both of us because I don't condone workplace violence at all, but I was
Right.
at the point where I'm like, my head's going to explode into a million little pieces if I don't do something,
Right.
and we talked about this, Jonesy, when you say you only have an associate's degree, I have an associate's degree in logistics management. Then I went back and got in my late 20s and early 30s. And then when I graduated, I had a choice. I was interviewing with, I had a headhunter that I had hired and was working with. I was interviewing with General Motors, Northwest Airlines, Conrail, the railroad, etc. And thank God I went entrepreneurial, as scary as it was, because Northwest Airlines got bought out by Delta. I would have been middle management. God knows what would have happened to me. Probably would have had to move to Atlanta from New Jersey. The railroad got merged into two other railroads. I would have been middle management. Probably would have had to move or been laid off. And General Motors is the plant in Linden, New Jersey is a brownfield now. There's just warehouses on it, and it's all gone, man. And so the one thing I want to say about all these mistakes, you make them, you learn from them, and hopefully by listening to this podcast, you don't make at least as many as you otherwise would have. But I want to encourage people at the entrepreneurial, people say, oh, can you still make money working for yourself? Or can you make money being a digital marketer? Is there any money to be made on the internet? Well, I think all three of us are living proof. And I love you guys, but I don't think anybody here is, I think everybody's special on the one hand, but on the other hand, nobody's special because everybody's special, if that makes sense. Nothing special or different about me except I kept showing up and I didn't quit. And eventually I hopefully stopped making all these mistakes. I like to think so.
Yeah, sometimes people totally underestimate the strategy called just be the last man standing. Just keep showing up. And that is a great strategy. Just not giving up is a great strategy. And I think, nobody would ever think that I would be doing this for a living in a million years. Never thought that. And I've embraced that solopreneur lifestyle. I don't have employees. I use contractors. I have friends do favors for me, but I am digging the solopreneur thing. If I fail, it falls on me, no one else. So I have to make sure that I stay well read, well practiced, take care of myself because I am my company. And like, for instance, one of the things we talked about this last Tuesday in the mastermind group, which, let me remind my audience, I go to a mastermind once a month. It's a face-to-face group. It is not a Zoom group. It is not a virtual group. We literally get out of bed in the morning, get dressed, and we go to a conference room where we meet and we talk about our issues very systematically, and then everybody else advises us after we tell what our challenge is, not problem, they're challenges. We just zip our mouth and allow the other 12 people to add their solutions in areas where they can see where I might have a blind spot. So I think there is something to belonging to a face-to-face group versus an online group. I do like online groups. I attend many, but there's nothing literally like getting in your vehicle and going to a group face-to-face and meeting the same people over and over and over. And let me ask you both this. How long did it take you? How many times did you have to attend a mastermind group before you said, this is for me? Or did you ever have any doubts that it was for you?
Well, I think on Ken's, because I've known him so long, I've known him probably, if not 20 years, very close to 20 years now. So I've been a big fan, and he engenders loyalty. For some reason, you meet Ken and you're like, oh my God, he's the greatest. I want to do stuff for him. So he invited me down to the mastermind. I went, but it didn't become a habit. I tend to be a loner sometimes, get lost in my own head and all. But I'll tell you what, I won't miss one. I've been on roll for 6 months now or so. I won't miss one. And it's an hour and 15 minutes, and it's a pain in the butt, some of the traffic go through. I don't want to get up 5:30 in the morning in the cold and the rain to drive through rush hour traffic to get there. But once I get there, my friends, my peers, my colleagues are there. And even at 26 years full time, you guys think I know everything? Hell no, man. There's a lot to learn still. So I get new ideas from everybody else every time. Plus, I also think it's good to give back to people. It's nice to be able to give somebody some advice and see a light bulb switch on in their head. All the things I've been given, the way I look at it, George, is for me to give back a month, one day a month. And I don't say in a vain way, like you guys are there auditing me, I'm auditing you and helping. Well, I get just as much by the helping other people, if not more so, than I do by you guys helping me.
Yeah.
It's a mastermind. I won't miss it. I'm hooked.
So I think to kind of piggyback on that is, yeah, a good fit for a mastermind for me would be one that has reciprocity, where, it's not always going to be equitable, the give and take. There's been some, months where I've showed up and I was put on the hot seat and, I was put through the ringer. And then other times I can go in and coast and, fix somebody else's problem with the snap of my finger because it's something I've fixed a million times. And that's one of the benefits of having a community like that, of entrepreneurs who have, they're in different industries, really. We're all entrepreneurs. Some of us are marketers, some of us are content creators. Some run a few local businesses. Thinking off the top of my head of the folks who go there. Regardless, it's, something, George, that you solved eons ago, I would have never thought of, and vice versa, because we're in two different completely industries and surrounded by different stuff every day. I've been lucky in that the masterminds, the three that I'm regularly a part of, I was referred to directly. So I had an idea of the facilitators, the community, and the culture going into it. But I've also bounced into a few like trial ones that I could tell were not for me, because the community and like-mindedness was not there.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention the upcoming seminar, a workshop, seminar, conference weekend, April 19th, 20th, and 21st that Ken MacArthur is putting on. And if my audience would go to createimpactnow.com, take a look at the speakers there. It's being held at the Airport Hilton. It's going to be 3 days that could change the trajectory of your life. And will both of you guys be at this conference as well?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, good. So my audience, you'll be able to meet. For those of you that haven't met me face to face yet, you'll be able to meet me, and you will be able to meet Jonesy and Frank Guerin. And oh, good, Samuel Risby, the Sultan of Savage, just posted the link, createimpactnow.com. Thank you, Samuel. I appreciate that.
Good luck.
And
George, that's where I met you for the first time last year. It was at the April Impact event.
That's right. I remember.
As I was sitting quietly at a table by myself.
Yes. Yeah. That's right.
And then met Frank shortly thereafter at the one-day high intensive, and now here we are. How about them apples?
That's great.
I can't say enough about live events like this. I mean, it's fun sitting home on the internet making money, but where the real action and the real deals come together, I found 99 times out of 100 is by meeting in person. I was this was 20 something years ago. I was the #1 affiliate for this guy over in England, Lee Benson, and he said to me, "Hey Frank, I want you to fly over at your own expense to Northeast England, and I want to meet with you for a few days because you're my #1 affiliate. I have an idea for some new product, and I want to work with you." Well, I got on the plane, flew to Manchester, took the train 3 hours across England over to Grimsby, England, where he lived, and next thing you know, we've got our own product, the Hypnotic Blueprint, and all these other things. He's been a fast friend, close friend, dear friend of mine for 2 decades now. And the money we've made together, and because of each other, we've done real estate together, we've done internet together. You're not going to do that strictly sitting at home, and we talk about that as one of the mistakes. Kind of being a hermit, keeping to yourself, And George, I don't mean that people should be out 8 nights a week networking. I mean, you got to do the work too, but find one or two things that you can plug into and really just commit to them. Like when I come to Ken's, these 1-day events, I'm there. I don't worry about anything else. I don't even bring a computer anymore because I don't want to be distracted.
Right. Yeah, I totally get it. I look forward to this group so much, and I've had a couple of the people in my community say that they're going to show up. I have one guy that lives in Millville, New Jersey, who said he's going to be showing up to the next one, so I'm pretty happy about that. And I've brought a guest recently, so that's cool. People who've never been through to a mastermind group, let me ask you this, Jonesy. What should people expect when they attend a mastermind group?
So if I'm going to use the perspective of the ones I attend and the ones that are a good fit for me, it's one, to expect for the first time you come to be put on that hot seat, to do a lot of listening. Expect not to sell, not to self-promote. Expect to make relationships, strong connections immediately, especially if you go in there open-minded.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Definitely
How about you?
bring something to write with. Yeah, you leave the laptop at home, or if you can, write on a tablet, distraction-free, but bring something to write with, for damn sure.
Yeah. Frank, what would you say for someone who's never been to a mastermind before? How would you explain it to them?
I think like attracts like, and a good mastermind, you'll find people that you would want to know even outside of the mastermind, whether it's other business endeavors or social. That's when it's a good fit. I would say if I was walking into a new mastermind, I'd just eyes wide open, follow the lead, and again, be prepared to be welcomed and put in the hot seat, day one. And it's all good. I mean, nobody there is going to deliberately try to hurt or offend you. They're there to give advice. They're there to get advice. Really, it's like-minded people. I'm in 3 of them. I'm in 2 real estate and this one with you guys, and again, Ken MacArthur. And it's because of that meeting Jonesy that conversionchemistry.com came alive. So just look at what this has done. Now we're guests on your podcast. I mean, who knew I was going to be on George Bruno's podcast one day? Wait till I tell my mom, big stuff, George, big stuff.
Yeah. Conversionchemistry.com. Samuel, if you will put that in the link, Samuel Risby, conversionchemistry.com. All right, so we're going to just jump right into this here. We're going to talk about 10 fatal marketing mistakes, 10 critical marketing blunders that people make when they start a business. The first one is no formal business plan. Jonesy, talk about that.
Yeah, well, that one, that's like a direct shot at me, because I did not. So I'm gonna take it back to entrepreneurs are typically very motivated, which is good because you can't really train motivation. You can't train intrinsic motivation. That's either there or it's not. So the no formal business plan, right? I went through this myself when I went from a marketer at a business to then being a freelancer. Taking what jobs I could, doing some website design stuff here, some ad management there. I did not have any revenue projections laid out. I had basically zero. It was me. I was the service. I was the product. I would take whatever jobs came along. There was no future. There was no scaling. We say that hobbies don't make you money. Businesses do. It was almost like it was my side hustle that I turned into my full-time job, but it was a paid hobby at the time.
Yeah.
And, it's as basic as it is to say is that, failing to plan is planning to fail, because the business plan does a few things. One, it doesn't have to be, a very complicated document at all. If you write it down, it's going to make you accountable, or at least it should, right? Because that's now a written manifestation of something where there was nothing. So if you plan it, you're going to do it. And the plan itself, it doesn't have to be a 50-page document you'd present to a board of directors. Now, we'll get to the board of directors in a second. All right. But my recommendation to entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, or even small business owners who are looking to scale is just grab a template of Google business plan template. All right. There's tons of them out there. Doesn't matter where you get it from. And just start filling it out to the best of your knowledge and ability for your business and use case. Because now it gets some stuff flowing out of your head on paper, right? We all know how that works. It frees up mental bandwidth. And then again, you can create action items based out of that. So this is the living document that it's going, you put your stream of consciousness into it under the different, you are the president, you are the board of director, you are the officer, you are the manager, fine. You don't have to lay out team members immediately. Finance, that's a big one, right? Where's money coming in and going out? Where are you going to get your money from? And then, all right, so I'd say it's a living document that gets updated. You can save multiple versions of it for different audiences, right? Like if I need to now go to a bank to get funding, I'm going to copy that business plan to a new document and really focus on the financial projections and cost and P&Ls and stuff like that. If it's to maybe expand, maybe I'm trying to find a partner. Well, I'm going to focus on that aspect of a business plan. And that's basically it. It's, don't make it complicated, but just do it.
Yeah. Frank, what do you think? No formal business plan. What say you?
Well, I think that's a big problem, and it's what I've always taught my people is this. Again, write something down. This is what I want to do. It's going to be a dynamic and ever-evolving thing. Living, breathing thing that changes as you progress. But one thing I teach people to do, George, is this. Go to 5 or 10 of your best friends, your family, whoever, and say, listen, I'm starting a new business. Don't worry about what it is. It's something on the internet. I have a good idea that I'm working on. What I need you to do is this. I want you to give me $1 or $5, whatever it is. In exchange for that, at the end of the year, I'm going to give you that back and a little bit more. The money's not the thing. The thing that's most important is I want you to hold me accountable. And so that every month or every quarter, better every month, particularly in the beginning, I just check in with you for 5 minutes and you say, hey, Frank, hey, George, hey, Jonesy, how's the business going? Are you making any progress? Are you making any money? Are you doing anything? Because that simple act of having somebody to be accountable to, George, changes everything. Because now you're sitting there, you're like, oh man, I've screwed off for the past 28 days. 2 days from now, I got to count it, call into my friend Joe here and tell him what I did. I better do something. That, I think, motivates people and at least holds your feet in the fire, if nothing else, because most people mean well, and even entrepreneurially, really, you're not going to change your habits until the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of having to change. And so you have to kind of affect change and bring some kind of a catalyst, being responsible and accountable to people, even though it's your own business. I mean, what a concept, because otherwise, you're, like I said, I came home full time from driving a truck. I was like, oh man, it's Tuesday. What's on TV? My butt should have been in a chair working. If I had somebody, of course, my ex-wife at the time I was accountable to, fair enough. But I'm saying some friends, neighbors, relatives, you say, hey, hold me accountable. I want you to invest $5 with me. I'm good for the money. I'll give back to you in a year, plus a little interest as a thank you. That's not the important thing. Important thing is I want you to hold my feet in the fire. And if you see me slacking off, let me know and we'll deal with it. And I think that one thing, never mind the other tips we're going to talk about here, that one thing alone can be a game changer, because now you're treating it like a business. It may be a digital business, may be a one man or woman business, but darn it, you're treating it like a business, George.
I like that. Number 2, lack of focus. Jonesy,
Oh, I'm sorry. Was I supposed to be paying attention?
As he models the very
Entrepreneurs,
behavior we're talking about. Yes.
you gotta show, don't tell, right? That's what we're doing here. Entrepreneurs, and I'm not saying everybody, but it's a common pitfall and one that I fell into because just by nature, I have that shiny object syndrome, as you can see by my obviously shiny shirt, is that the alluring, sexy thing gets my attention, and I want to work on that until something better or newer or different comes along, which then gets my attention. Which the fatal error is spreading myself too thin, doing too much at once, being okay at a few things and not great at any one particular thing. Right. So for every one of these fatal errors, we have action steps and resolutions. All right. So the first thing to do is pick that niche, prioritize, do something great, be something for your target audience that you're the best at, or at least best in class at. That's what I like to say I am. I don't strive to, be the next Russell Brunson. Hey, if it happens, it happens. I'm not going to mentally limit myself, but that's not really where my aims and desires are. So I am a best in class digital marketer and entrepreneur solutionist to my fellow entrepreneurs and small business owners. And just like anything else, it takes time. All right. Shiny object syndrome takes over. You have a couple wins fast. Like I said, I was shooting threes all last year into this year. But to make my first 10 million, it's going to take patience and still working on these projects that I started, which goes back to what? Being accountable to my business plan. All right. See, everything relates to everything. And that's the document that holds me accountable. My board of directors holds me accountable, which is who? It's the first person or persons who invested that $1 to $5 in my business that I owe 20% on at the end of the year, and you guys, my mastermind group. And that's something else that you can expect from a mastermind group, is having the collective body keep you accountable and keep you focused month over month. Look, I keep the accountability log for the Ken MacArthur Impact School of Marketing one-day intensive mastermind, and I don't let anybody slide. Nobody in this room, not even myself.
No, you don't. No, you don't. And that is welcome. That is absolutely welcome.
Something else to expect at a mastermind, since we're going to keep relating back to that.
Yeah. A good mastermind has accountability and deadlines. Frank, what do you think? Lack of focus.
Well, I think, the action steps that you really want to look at is you do one thing and you do it well. You can't fly two planes at once. You can't drive two cars at once. You can't ride two horses at once. Do one thing and get good at it. And minimum, what do we say? Minimum viable product. Get it
Yep.
to the point where it's
MVP.
just running on its own, and it can, right. It's running on its own. You have your minimum viable product. Then go back and do something else, embellish it, add on to your product line, etc. I tell people that they want to embrace patience and persistence, because Rome wasn't built in a day. And if you're willing to go to college for 2 years or 4 years, then sorry, you sure as hell better be willing to give that much time to yourself building some sort of a business. And I tell people, value your time above all. Nobody wants to lose money or waste money, but I'll tell you what, I would trade some money for an extra 10 years. I don't know about you guys, but time is what it's all about, really. And then the last thing I tell people is regularly reassess your focus, because you have to say to yourself, am I on track, or do I just have tunnel vision and I'm doing this thing or working on this product just because that's what I'm supposed to be doing? Things might have changed. Maybe you're better at something else, or maybe something pops out of your first project that you would be better served by transitioning into the second thing. You got to value your time, and you have to be willing to look at yourself in a way I think that most people don't really know how to do, lovingly and critical at the same time.
Number 3, having a one-person show mentality. Wow. Especially for the solopreneur. I mean, we want to do it all. And a lot of times the solopreneur thing is a reaction to having been ordered around by other people our whole lives, or having a boss or a supervisor at a job.
Exactly.
And then all of a sudden you become an entrepreneur and you're like, this is all about me now. But that can be a fatal marketing mistake. Tell us about that, Jonesy.
So I'm going to be very specific about one perspective of that, and that's from the point of view of your audience, your customers, your clients, whoever. Being a one-person show, a one-man show, or a one-woman show is not a value prop to your client. It may sound like a flex to yourself because, yeah, I can handle all this. Yeah. All right, well, that's cool. Again, you're motivated. We got that. Awesome. Your client now goes, well, the linchpin is you. You are the product. You are the service. It stops with you. It fails with you. What if you get sick? What if you go on vacation? What am I going to do then? All right. So even if you are starting out as, doing the brunt of the work, the actual product or service, the very least you should do is show the position that you have a team around you. Even if you get that investor friend to say they are the assistant manager or the marketing director, it does not matter. And I'm not saying to be deceiving to your clients or customers, but the reality is that you're not doing it yourself, or you shouldn't be. And by doing this, you're in that position without even making without hiring, right? You don't need to hire somebody right away to position yourself correctly. And we talk about, instead of hiring outright, starting with subcontractors and all that. But that's the thing, is I always like to look at things from the perspective of clients and customers, because that's how we have to make our marketing decisions anyway. And then I'm going to let Frank take over with some of the finer points of the one-person show and what not to do, and then what to do.
Well, and again, guys, I've made all these mistakes, so I'm not holding up a hand at you and saying, "How dare you do this, you big dummy?" I did it all myself, and one of the biggest mistakes with this one-man show thing is when you rely on yourself, you become the pinch point. Not only, like Jonesy says, as far as appearance and function to other people, but to yourself. What happens is you restrict the business's ability to scale and expand. If you have to do everything mathematically, there's only so many hours in a week, so many hours in a day. You can't do it all. So by being a one-person show, what you're doing is you're saying, I'm going to drive this business with the parking brake on. Okay. I'm going to tell you from experience that handling all the aspects of your business on your own, it's going to lead to burnout. And it's very easy to burn out. It's very hard to burn back in. Another thing is when you work in isolation, you get that tunnel vision, and it can limit exposure to new ideas, perspectives critical for innovation. You kind of get entrenched in your ways. And I think some of the solutions are, and this is 2024 Frank talking to 2003 Frank, subcontract wherever possible, outsource, subcontract to professionals. In this way, you're ensuring the same quality and efficiency, I would like to say, across the board. For administrative or routine tasks, hire a virtual assistant. They're not a lot of money. Hire freelancers. Go on Fiverr, places like that. You'd be surprised how much time and resources you can save. And again, in the beginning, it's all about getting up the beachhead, George, like getting the base summit, climbing Mount Everest. You got to get to that first place to where you can stop and catch your breath. And that's how you do it, is by bringing other good people into your team straight away. Now, don't hire people just for the hell of it. There's no point in that. And don't hire them too soon. But if you find yourself struggling, or if you find yourself gravitating more towards these tasks than these tasks, maybe you need to look at yourself and say, geez, $8 an hour. I can have some college kid do this or whatever, because investing in help can free up your schedule for the stuff that matters, the strategic planning and all the other growth activities that come with managing and running your own business.
Yeah, it's funny. Letting go of certain duties is actually a growth step. I know I struggle with letting go of certain duties. Like I've heard people talk about, like hire someone to do the thumbnails on your podcast, hire someone to do the editing. And I'm like, God, I can't, you're going to have to wrestle that away from me. But it takes time. And I have seen where just doing menial stuff just takes away my energy, and I'm
from
less
the big
creative.
Stuff, right? Yeah,
From the big
that
stuff.
you should be. Where do I take this show? What else can I offer my audience, my babies, my people, my tribe? Those are the things we need to be focused on, not dotting I's and crossing T's.
Yeah, I think it's important that we make money fast, make a dollar fast.
Oh, I'm going to
you don't have to.
Too. Yeah,
it's
right.
the momentum, making your first, as I heard. I think it was Noah Kagan who was asking one of his guests. He said, "What have people given you money for in the past?" Like people will say, "Well, I can't do anything. What can I do? What should I do?" And he says, "Look, what have people literally given you money for in the past?" And that gets the gears turning, because the average person do this. The average person does not think that they can be an entrepreneur, make money on the side. And when I say be an entrepreneur, I don't care if you make enough money to pay for your cell phone, or put gas in your car, or put groceries, in the cabinet, food on the table, that kind of thing. A good side hustle can take care of those things. And it could be a service or a product that you created. And that's what conversion chemistry is about, is that you're going to be teaching people and giving them support for their business and helping them get from 0 to 60 real fast. Because by yourself, man, there's the potential of you being discouraged and quitting if you don't have support.
That's very true. And George, if I may, real quick, because you said something so important there, I just want to say one more thing. The person that can talk you out of success the most is you. There's nobody that's going to be harder on you. I tell people, if you talk to me the way that you talk to you, I would punch you in the face. But you're so hard on yourself. That's each of us, though. No, I suck. I messed up. I'm so stupid. That's why. And you mentioned making money quickly. We're gonna talk about that. Because I think you hit it on the head. I'm so glad to hear you say that. You have to make money even if it's $1. You go to a pizza joint or a barber shop, they have $1 taped to the wall, the first dollar. There's a reason they do that. It's not just a symbol. It's more than that. And we'll talk about that in a bit.
Yeah. The first dollar that you earn because of something digital is pretty profound. And also in providing a service, whether you open up a pizza shop or a barber shop, one or the other. Number 4, not understanding the basic skills quickly, ramping up quickly. Jonesy.
Yeah, so the basics. We talk about the basics of marketing a lot because that's something that's evergreen in a world filled with noise and multiple social media platforms and this tool, that tool. You got, Johnny Salesman walking down the street with his trench coat going, "Hey kid, you want to buy some marketing?" And it's, the latest and greatest tool, lifetime offer, gadget, widget, whatever. And those are all just tools and ways to get there. Master the basics. What do we mean? You got to know what you're selling, which probably at that point you do. You have to know who your audience is. and you have to know how to convert that audience from, not even being aware to being interested to being buyers. All right, so that's conversion chemistry at its core. It's something we talk about every time we walk into a one-day intensive mastermind because it's a universal truth. Those are the three ingredients. So all of your marketing activities should feed one of those three pillars, one of those three ingredients. And to that end, you have to know what your product and service is, who it's geared for, and how to talk to them. All right, back to the eyes of the audience, back to eyes and ears of the audience. Fundamental copywriting. The problem you're solving, the pain you're solving, has to appeal to that target audience. That's about it. You can have an entire audience with all of the web traffic, store traffic, social media traffic, messages, inbound DMs, whatever. But if your messaging responses are not clear cut in that language that your audience is speaking or wants to hear, it's not going to do anything. All right. And one of the ways we train ourselves and train our students to think about that is by talking about benefits over features. It's the difference. And I'm always going to go back to Frank always talks about flying planes, driving trains, and driving cars. An airline may say 50% off airline tickets for Christmas. Okay. That's a feature, not a benefit. This holiday season, you can fly home to see grandma at a reasonable rate. All right. And that's a benefit. It's creating a story, telling, not selling. Other basics are the fundamentals of social media, which platforms you should be on for your niche, for your business and your audience. Common pitfall is trying to do them all at once, which again falls back into A, lack of focus, B, having a one-person show mentality. It's nigh impossible. Pick one or two social media platforms and start with that. Master it. Absolutely master and dominate it. Now, we can show you some tools on how to automate posting to other platforms, which is really cool. Like, I love automations, but don't expect to have those secondary and tertiary and fourth, fifth, and sixth platforms be your high converters at that time until you master one or two. And as I like to say, everything relates to everything. When you do hit a certain threshold, that's something you can delegate to a VA or a contractor or a staff member with a simple SOP, a standard operating procedure. Record yourself, write yourself doing the thing, write it out how you want it to be done, and then you hire that extension of yourself. Or with AI, which I know we're going to get to later, and I'm always psyched to talk about AI. To you, Frank.
Well, I think one of the other mistakes that people make in this, a subset of this particular mistake, neglecting brand identity. Because if you don't start building a brand from day one, or if you don't have an idea who your market is, what appeals to them, what you stand for, and you're building this identity, that hinders your bonding of the audience, the connection and the loyalty. Overlooking basic traffic fundamentals. And believe me, I hate SEO. I hate Facebook ads, everything else. That's why I have you, Jonesy. But you have to know that stuff a little bit before you can bring somebody else in. And by a little bit, I mean just know enough that you can tell if the person's doing a good job or not for you. I would tell you, prioritize, and you mentioned copywriting. Prioritize some basic copywriting skills, learn the basics. Again, you can see that at conversionchemistry.com. We covered that. Your brand identity, you want to define who you are, what you stand for, and why should your audience even care about you? In social media, what you want to do, and people make this mistake all the time, they just have a social media plan that gets people to the site, but there's no engagement, no value offered, and thus a lower retention rate. And for every 2 people you're putting on your list or you're following, you're losing 3. And those are just a few of those mistakes. And I mean, we could talk for an hour on each one of these 10 mistakes. So we're covering the high points here, guys. But those are some of the things, George, that I would say people definitely need to watch out for and be aware of in that regard.
Number 5, failing to capture emails. Why is that important?
This is another one that I had neglected for years when I was working as a full-time marketer for businesses. Oh, I would capture emails, leads left and right, remarket to them, do email marketing, retargeting campaigns, the whole works, all the stuff I preach. Guess who I didn't do it for? Myself.
Yep.
Even when I went a couple years into entrepreneurship, starting my digital marketing agency as a side hustle, I still didn't do it besides my own customers. Creating lead magnets for clients and doing lead gen and never doing it for myself. What a bonehead move, until I had it reiterated by Frank that I need to be doing this for myself. So that's something you start out with right away. And it's not hard. It's really not hard to implement an autoresponder, which I'm going to let Frank discuss a little bit about the solution end of it. And then with that, you have to make sure you hit some compliance check boxes, which is like disclosures, double opt-in on the email side, which it's a communications law that you have to do that. But it's also important because it's making sure that your audience is your target audience, your tribe, your family, the people that you truly do want to get your message, and they truly do want to hear from you. So yeah, it's a bit of a hurdle, but it basically makes those who are compliant, good marketers, stand out from a sea of spam.
Absolutely.
And the money's in the list, and that's where Frank comes in, because he is a master in list building and email marketing.
Well, thanks, and I appreciate that. I only hope my mom hears this podcast. She said, I'm 59. She still doesn't understand what I do. But, the thing by not capturing emails too, guys, is you miss the opportunities to personalize your communication and fine tune it. You miss the opportunity to build relationships. You miss the opportunity to establish trust with your audience through regular and meaningful engagement. In other words, if you don't capture emails, you're not building a book of business, right? Think of an insurance agency or something like that. They have a book of business. Well, your people, your audience, your tribe, your following is your book of business. You have to communicate with them regularly and in a meaningful fashion. If you're only mailing out to them once in a blue moon and your competition's mailing out to them twice a week, guess who gets the sale 99 times out of 100? So what you want to do is encourage your visitors to subscribe to your list, and you want to offer them value in return. And we can talk about that another time. What to give somebody to get on your list: a free report, a free trial, a free sample, whatever. Jonesy covered the double opt-in, and you really do want to personalize your emails. And George, I think you do this in a wonderful way across the board. Is people know who you are, they like you, and therefore, you come out with a new show, new podcast routinely. They know they can count on you. That keeps an audience informed and engaged and entertained, and it gives them a chance to fall in love with you and or see you as the solution to their problem. Because people, they want to be entertained, they want to belong to a team, but a lot of times they don't want to do the thinking to solve their own problems. Everybody's so busy, they want to find somebody that tells them what to do. I have trouble with my marriage. Just somebody tell me what to do to fix this, because I don't even know anymore. That's where George comes in. Conversion chemistry. You don't know how to get traffic. You don't have to convert your offers. That's where we come in, but it's through repetition and personalization and showing yourself as a human being. Hey, you can make a mistake once in a while on camera. It's no big deal. The world's not going to end. It just shows people that you're human. And people that hide behind automation, on the other hand, one thing is, don't do everything manually. On the other hand, don't do everything so automated that people can't tell if they're dealing with a human being or a robot.
Yeah, I like that. Well, we are halfway through, and I'm going to do a quick little commercial. I have Dan Jones, also known as Jonesy, and Frank Guerin from conversionchemistry.com on the show today. And in a nutshell, describe conversion chemistry, and then you also have a promo code for them as well if they want to check it out before the end of the show. Tell us about that, Jonesy.
Yes, sir. So conversion chemistry is marketing training for entrepreneurs and small business. We teach you how to create a hungry audience. We teach you how to connect to them, and we teach you how to make conversions. So it is right now an 8-series masterclass, which we call the Digital Dominance Blueprint. And we also have a few other courses that are in there that attack specific pillars of digital marketing like SEO, branding, and social media. And then we also include as a bonus a massive amount of swipe files, which is templates, which is scripts, all these high converting pieces of copy that you can use to connect to your audience. It's something that, like we just talked about in the email marketing, you personalize, you take the structure and you personalize it for your audience, and it works. Oh, we also have a lot of AI training in there. That's one of our added bonuses. So it's what it is. It's a monthly membership to conversionchemistry.com. And, unlike a lot of courses and trainings that are out there, we update it, almost weekly at this point, but our commitment to our community is that we're going to update it at a minimum of once a month to put new content in. The reality is it's pretty much always evolving, right? Because where 15 years ago, probably 20 years ago at this point, MySpace was relevant, it's not. So the concepts we teach are relevant. They always will be, but the tools to get us there are not. So that's why we're committed to keeping it ever evolving. And here's our, but wait, there's more moment. Okay. For listeners of this show, for the Bruno bunch, I want to name your tribe something else here, but I'm not sure where to go with it. What can we call your family?
Well, I used to call them the Beasts.
The Beasts, okay. The Bruno Beasts. What we have is it's a lifetime subscription to Conversion Chemistry for 90% off using coupon code Bruno 2024. I tried to type that into the chat a couple minutes earlier, but it cut me off. I will try it again, so I'll repeat that. It is lifetime membership to Conversion Chemistry, 90% off. Bruno 2024 is the coupon code. So what you do, you go to conversionchemistry.com, select Get Access, click Lifetime Membership. Don't freak out at the part where it says $2,000, because when you type in Bruno 2024, it drops down to about $200 for lifetime access. So not only, let's say you use it for 5 years, right? Let me do some quick math here. That's what, 600 times 5, 3,000. You're now paying $200 out of $3,000, and you're going to make 6 figures of, I don't want to say in no time, because we do talk about patience and persistence, but it's a blueprint for you to make a lot of money. And why do I do this? Why? All right, Jonesy and Frank, why are you guys just giving this away? Because I make a lot of money doing it. And unlike working for a captive employer, I can make everybody else money and myself at the same time.
That's a beautiful thing. That is a beautiful thing. So if you go to conversionchemistry.com, use the promo code Bruno2024, you'll get 90% off. And you'll be on the ground floor, right? This is like a ground floor kind of thing, right?
It absolutely is. It's like you're jumping on the escalator right away. All right, it's moving. Get on it.
Excellent. And then also, too, I want to talk about Create Impact Now, which is a Ken MacArthur's impact community of marketers, where I will be there, Jonesy will be there, Frank will be there, and many other people, legends in the marketing industries, will be there. I went last year. This is going to be an incredible conference. It's April 19th, 20th, and 21st. And if you go to createimpactnow.com, you can sign up there. And that's, you have a good heads up. You have a good 2 months ahead. But if you've never been to a marketing conference, you're thinking of starting a business, if you're in business and you want to just get the edge, this is the weekend that you need to be there. So, all right, we're going to go to number 6. Taking too long to make the first sale. Why is that a blunder? Why is that a fatal mistake?
You mentioned that before, George, and I just, my ears perked up. I get very passionate about that because it's just people procrastinate. They think they have to get their website perfect, their product perfect. And what happens is they wind up missing the momentum and the validation that it provides. That you cannot underestimate, in my opinion, the psychological and strategic value of securing a sale very early in your business journey. Because you know what? That first $5, it's a credentializer, it's a legitimizer, and it immunizes yourself against the dream stealers. Number one is your inner voice saying, I'm not good enough. I can't do this. Well, if you're making money, something's working, okay? And the other thing is, a mistake is, taking too long to make the first sale. Part of that is the mistake of not being aggressive or having enough focused action to achieve that first sale. And that sets a positive precedent for all the future sales to come. Nobody gets into business to not make money. Well, first sale is going to be the hardest. First sale is going to be the most bittersweet. It's almost going to break your heart. But you know what? Once you make that first one, now you've immunized yourself from what I call dream stealers. You've prioritized quick wins. You validate your business. And here's another reason, George. You want to validate your business idea. You want to see if the thing works. Are people willing to pay money for my minimum viable product? Why are you going to build, the Taj Mahal if people won't stay at your Red Roof Inn? It doesn't make sense,
Right.
So Jonesy, what do you say about all this?
Yeah, it's always going to come back to when you have your minimum viable product, sell it. That means you're ready. And if you don't have it, that's the priority, is not getting all hung up on the nuts and bolts of the thing that you're creating or selling or positioning. But what is that minimum viable product? What can you do for your target audience, even if it's that one person? If you can solve that problem, you are ready. Which means a lot of things. I mean, getting the first sale is a small victory, which we all know is how you build momentum to have multiple small victories, which is, of course, profit. I don't need an MBA, and I'm not throwing shade at people who go to traditional institutions, but you don't need an MBA to know that chart going upwards means money and lots of it. That's what the first sale does. That's what it does for you mentally and on paper. It really is. That's your revenue right there. So we firmly believe in that minimum viable product, and that's not the end. That's your first iteration, maybe your beta, whatever you want to, your alpha. You can call it whatever you want, really. But you take that experience, how you got to that sale, and refine it, and either make it easier to replicate, shorten the lead time, make it more profitable. Any of those ways to scale it, to make more of that, to reach more people. That's about it.
I like that. And I like that you mentioned minimum viable product, Frank. And that's one of the things that we talk about month to month in our mastermind group, the Impact Community. And we get reminded every month. And I know I need to be reminded. There's 3 steps. There is have an audience, number 1. Number 2, have something to sell. And number 3, have a conversion system. How do you get the product or service into people's hands? That's the conversion system. And that is where conversion chemistry comes in. It's very consistent with that 3-stage marketing plan. Audience, have something to sell, have a conversion system.
And we just put our elimination twist on it, which is create, connect, convert.
Create, connect, and convert. I love that.
Alliteration.
I love that. All right, number 7. Failure to nurture your intuition. What do you mean by that?
Well,
There's a few. Sorry,
no, you
Frank.
go ahead, Mr.
Okay.
Jones. I
It's
insist.
whoa, excuse me. And since I'm your sidekick, I will do as you say. Um, one of the
Very
my
silly.
gut feeling tells me I should speak up right now. Okay, so failing to listen to that gut feeling is one of the fatal errors. And let's be honest, it's not a terribly complicated thing. That's why we call this the 10 most common fatal errors. If it doesn't pass the sniff test or the talk test, it probably is not a good fit. It's not going to work. Um, and lack of initiative, right? We talk about all this planning, motivation. I'm gonna lofty dreams, lofty goals, which is awesome. Don't ever lose that, all right? Because that immunizes you against the dream stealers. But failing to take initiative means you're not taking that first step. And so again, simply go back to that business plan, right? As I always say, everything relates to everything. We're going to go back to step one on this one. All right, I find myself having all these ideas, but I don't know where to start. It's a good thing I wrote out this plan. Oh, okay. Well, I need to make my first sale. Well, I've been engaging with this audience on YouTube or Facebook or Instagram, right? Because we chose two out of however many, and I'm going to take the next thing. I have my solution. I'm just going to ask for the sale, which is the end result. But what are the steps you have to take to get there? And that's where initiative comes in. So make sure whatever you're doing passes the talk test and take a step. Leverage your motivation. Entrepreneurs have motivation. Leverage that motivation into taking action, whatever that action is. I'm going to say start small. Make a list, do something about it.
And what I would say is, don't overthink this business. If I walked up to you on the street and I said, hey, I've got this idea. I want to send aardvarks into outer space because the moon doesn't have enough of them yet.
I'm in. Take my money.
Yeah, and people do that, these ridiculous things. Oh, yeah, all I have to do is push a button and make money, all this other crap. Well, you know what? If it doesn't make sense in the real world, it probably doesn't make sense online either. You're still dealing in reality here, okay? So don't make the mistake of devaluing your gut feelings and your instinctual insights into decision making. You know, people step off the curb. Most of us know enough to look both ways before getting off the curb. You don't get out into the middle of the road to see if there's any traffic coming. Common sense. Thunderstorm. You don't say, hey, you know what? I always admired Ben Franklin. I'm going to go fly a key attached to a kite and see what happens. All right. You have to take that same common sense. Come in out of the rain, okay? Grade crossing at a train track. The big gates are coming down. Hey, that's a clue. Train's coming. Probably don't want to cross right then, okay? So don't make the mistake of not applying basic common sense when you're valuing opportunities and risks. Jonesy says, smell test. If it doesn't feel good, look good, sound good, there's probably a reason for that. It's your own intuition telling you that. And if you fail to nurture your intuition, you're going to have all kinds of problems. The other kind of intuition you do want to nurture is you want to start cultivating a sense of being able to identify possible profitable opportunities. You want to get a pair of money goggles going on. And what I mean by that is you want to learn a little bit of hustle. You want to learn how to think and hustle in a good way, meaning, you're working it, man. You're thinking on your feet. You see and you evaluate and you practice looking at opportunities through a financial lens. Hey, would my audience like that? What if I told them this? Because you already know what you need to know. You need to rely on your common sense. Things like money goggles. You can say, well, geez, who can I joint venture with? And joint venture means pairing up with somebody in a similar, complementary, or identical market. What ancillary services? can I offer my people? You want to identify partners who can complement your strengths and weaknesses. And all this you can't do any of this if you don't get that first sale fast, because you're going to sit there and try to get everything perfect. That goes totally against the minimum viable product. You're taking too long to make your first dollar. Now you got this feeling, does this really work? Does it not work? I have somebody's a dear client, but I tell you what, every other week he's reinventing something because the thing that he did 2 weeks ago didn't work. And it's because he didn't give it enough time, and he didn't stick with it, and he didn't make sure he would make money right away. He didn't ensure, not make sure. He didn't ensure that he would make money right away by having that drive to get as far up the beachhead as he could before the day-to-day minutia and routine set in. Because it happens to all of us. Some days you're feeling it, some days you're not. But at least if you make your first dollar, you know you have a business, and you continue to treat it like that.
I like that. Nurturing the intuition. Number 8, being a hermit. Why is that a fatal marketing mistake? Like, I look at being a hermit and I'm like, hermits unite.
Yeah, hermits unite, but remotely and virtual.
Yeah. Hermits unite in your own home over a Zoom call.
And see, now I want to start a brand called Hermits Unite, and I want it to be a hat. I want it to be a shirt. I want to make that a thing, which maybe we'll get to. I'm going to write that down because it's not one of the items I need to focus on right now. But
Hermits, I think there's a brand there. I'll be honest with you.
I think that's great. We're going to have to sidebar that one because we need to keep focus, right?
Right.
But what just happened right there is the byproduct of collaboration. All right, that could be a joint venture right there, and that's what happens. One of the most common things I see, especially with small businesses I work in, which I know is a couple steps removed from an entrepreneur, but small businesses are usually created from entrepreneurship, is the echo chamber of the similar thoughts and solutions or lack thereof, whether it be a negative echo chamber, positive echo chamber, whatever the case may be. It's stifling. It's absolutely stifling to not have outside perspective on things. And, that's one of the keys of going to a mastermind, which I know is, it's a mastermind's next level. You can start small with basic networking, which I love. Especially somebody who's kind of an introverted extrovert. And by that, I mean, I can go out and network, I can talk for periods of time, but then I need to recharge my batteries. It drains me socially. I'm cool with that. I work with it now, and I go to a couple networking events a week, small ones, some informal ones, and some that have more of an agenda. And I don't go in there to sell, not at all. I go in there to mostly listen, because that's, as a marketer, what I like to do most, because if I can help somebody, I will, without having to monetize it. All right. The more I put out there for free, the more money I end up making anyway, because, like we talk about, business owners who are too busy with the business need or wants to be shown the way. And I know I do for certain aspects of it as well. That's why when I started out doing it all, I got burnt out. And now I focus on marketing strategy and the website side of things. I've got social media people on my team now. I post myself, of course, absolutely. But for the nuts and bolts every day, I delegate that to them. Email marketing, that's a Frank job. That's a Frank job all the way. And I know I kind of got off track there with, being, isolated in an echo chamber, but the key point is to not stifle and not isolate yourself from fresh perspectives and new ideas.
What do you think, Frank? Are you a hermit?
I really liked working from home and being alone in the beginning, but the walls closed in, and I crave the human connection. So I like the fact that even though it's an hour, 15 minutes, I like that I have to drive an hour, 15 minutes, 3 counties away to meet with you guys because it gets me out of the house. And I think that it's a way of reducing my own tendency to think that I know everything about everything, because I don't. 26 years into it, in an ever-changing industry. I mean, God, I started with 14.4 dial-up, George. Fax on demand, was the thing. Cassette tapes. My first
Yeah.
product was on cassette tapes. I remember when we converted to CDs, we were like, is the market ready for CDs yet? So that's how long I've been doing this. And man, getting out there and not being a hermit, I made so many deals. And just Jonesy is one of them. It's the latest and greatest. But so many other projects that I've worked on, that real estate stuff. I could have done the real estate, the land investing that we do as my other gig, the buying and selling of raw land in the Carolinas and Colorado. I could have done it myself, but I wouldn't be a third of the way there if I was a hermit doing it all on my own, because I'm not a good accountant and I'm not a good, you know, by the numbers. I'm a come here and give me a big hug. I love you, everybody. Social animal, salesman type. So, yeah, I need to get out there and mingle with other people, because what you're doing is it gives you some skill sets. Not only do you network, but when you offer value without an immediate expectation of a return, that builds trust and rapport. And like Jonesy said, it makes people want to do stuff for you. People want to do stuff for people that they like. They don't want to do stuff for people that come up to them and say, hey, I got this good product I think you should mail for me. It's not how life works. Practicing active listening is another skill you get by coming out of your shell. Empathizing, hearing other people's problems. Like Jonesy says, he listens, and then other people say to him, hey, you know what? Don't you do that stuff? Maybe you could help me. That's the kind of thing we're talking about here. And again, it comes down to joint ventures. You look when you are home, who are you going to do a joint venture with? Yourself? That's a little weird, So when you're at an event or networking or just whatever type of, you leave your house and come out of your shell, there's plenty of opportunities to collaborate with other people in your industry or ancillary industries, and it's for mutual benefit. You're not going to benefit with another person or expand your audience by staying home all the time. That's the way I would put it to you guys.
Yeah, I've heard it said that if you don't pay, those that don't pay attention. There's something about putting out some money to go to a mastermind group, putting out some money to go to a conference. Like, you pay to be in the right rooms. That's really what it is. So you're not only benefiting from every speaker at a conference, you're benefiting from the sidebar conversations that you have in between speakers, during lunch, before the conference day, at the end of the conference day, the relationships that you make, because everybody at a conference, like the Create Impact Now conference and the Impact Community Mastermind that the three of us go to once a month, it's about the relationships. It is about the relationships. 100%. Yeah, I think that's just super important, which kind of leads us to our next point, not paying for advice. I like to say, if you don't pay attention. I know guys in the course creation space that have told me that up to 80% of the people that buy, like, I'm talking like $1,000 courses, one guy said up to 80% don't even open up the course. I'm like, what? They just paid $1,000 and they're not even looking at the modules? It's amazing. You have to pay for what you pay for what you get. You respect what you get. You work on what you get. But you kind of, like, for instance, like a guy buys a course. without the social aspect of that course, then there's a strong possibility that you might not even act on it. I mean, there might be two guys who want to start a business who are watching this right now and say, "Hey, look, man, let's go halves on this. Let's learn. Let's go in on this. This sounds incredible. We got the product, we have the audience, and we just need a conversion system." So, Frank, talk about not paying for advice as a marketing mistake.
Well, I think by not paying for advice, I'm talking from experience. Oh my God, if I knew then what I know now, I would have borrowed money and sold a kidney, whatever it took to get in front of some paid advice. Because what happens is a lot of people tend to underestimate the value of a good coach, and keyword being good, emphasis on good. Okay. People tend to not understand that you can leverage the accelerated growth that paid advice offers. In other words, if I hire Jonesy and he says don't touch the hot stove, that saves me from touching the hot stove on my own and burning my hand, paying the medical bills, not being able to type for a week, et cetera, et cetera. And that's a metaphor, and I'm being dramatic, but believing that you can save money by not investing in expert guidance, that's actually going to cost you more in the long run. And another thing is, again, putting it a different way, you miss out on the opportunity to advance more quickly with somebody that's been there and done that. I learned truck driving from people that had driven trucks for a while. Okay. I learned marketing from people that have been doing it even longer than I have. I learned real estate from people that had been doing it successfully. All these things I paid for. I paid to go to truck driving school. I paid to go to conferences. I can remember this guy Marlon Sanders, a legend in our internet marketing community. I bought his course one after another and devoured them. It was like thing, George. The biggest mistake people do is they'll spend 2, 4, 6, 8 years to get a degree, and they won't spend money on their own personal education to learn business, because we're not all born entrepreneurs. We're just not. This is something that some of us have to learn. And I tell people, listen, you better be willing to spend the next 2 years treating this like it's a college degree in entrepreneurship. That's that. It's a shame they don't teach entrepreneurship in most schools, because they're just grinding out an endless army of zombies that fill these positions. And the world as a whole, and the free market world in particular, would be in much better shape if we encouraged entrepreneurialism and risk taking. So most people don't have that inherent in them. They need to pay and team up with somebody, a big brother, big sister, whoever, that is going to show them how to get their sea legs and learn how to fly. You can't put a price tag on that, George. You really can't.
Jonesy, what do you say? Not paying for advice, how is that a blunder, a marketing blunder, a fatal mistake for a business person or someone thinking about going into business?
It's a blunder because entrepreneurs and even newer businesses starting out, they see paying for advice or coaching as transactional, right? They're watching everything that goes in and comes in and goes out. So it's a cost. It is an expense, but we need to train ourselves to see it as an investment, because the right coach, the right training, the right course is going to give you that ROAS, that ROI. It's proven. That's the way it works. So stop seeing it as transactional. All right. Or if you do, because I kind of am a transactional person in that way, I frame it to, okay, well, yeah, sure. This $97 mastermind, fine. Am I going to make $105 when I leave the room to then pay for it and then some? Probably not. But now that I've made thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars by taking the advice, listening to the coaching, by collaborating with the right people, yeah, not only paid for itself 20 times over, I've then been able to find other coaches, mentors, and courses specifically for that next level. And that's, yeah, we'll self-promote right here. And again, I want to reiterate, get that 90% off while it lasts, because now George is telling me people with multiple $1,000 courses that are purchased and never used. We don't want to be like that specifically, but I'm not going to turn that down if it comes to a sale. So get that 90% off before I raise the price. All right, because the reality is that we want to be on that ground level of entrepreneurs to get that series. You talk about series 1 funding. This is series 1 training. All right, and it doesn't stop there. You stay a member of Conversion Chemistry, you're going to evolve with us. But whatever your industry, your specific business, your specific skill set, product, or service is, there are coaches there that specialize in that you're going to want to also invest in. And that's what it comes down to. You don't see it as, oh, I need to invest in this $20,000 a year high-level mastermind at first. No, just like you get to that first sale with an MVP, find that right coach or mentor that's right for you right now at an affordable price. And affordable is relative, but they are out there. And it's a non-negotiable, really.
Yeah, I think that virtual mentors, that's kind of like the gateway drug to face-to-face, in-person mentors. People start watching me, they start watching you guys, people who are going to watch this are going to be looking for mastermind groups. I mean, we've spoken about the power of a mastermind group, having 10 other people around a table that think differently than you and that have solutions that you can't see. And that is what we seek out every month when we go to this mastermind. If I haven't changed anyone's mind yet about masterminds, then I have failed. I need to let you know that your growth, your income, your weight loss, your relationships are all going to come from other people's ideas. You might say, well, I can find this on my own. Sure, you could in 20 years. A mastermind group helps compress the time that it takes to reach a desired goal. And the last one.
A very good point, George, is that a mastermind can almost be like a de facto gateway into finding that coach or mentor by crowdsourcing it to start with. In that mastermind group, all of you are my coaches and mentors.
Yes.
I believe I've said that to you before, but I'll reiterate it again. You and I don't have a formal mentor-mentee relationship, but in that room, you are my mentor.
Yeah.
Frank, you are my actual mentor, but why did that happen? Because I attended that mastermind. And if I have failed to convince anybody to join a mastermind, then I have also failed.
As have I. And I'll tell you what, I'm hooked. Like I said before, George, I will not miss Ken's event. I mean, if I have to work vacations around it at the risk of being dramatic and stuff, I'll do, because 26 years in, like you say, you think a guy like me would know everything. Nope. This industry, marketing as a whole, digital marketing, internet stuff, the technology changes so fast. A year ago, I was like, hey, this stupid chatbot and AI and all and this and that, I don't need to know any of this. Now I'm like, tell me more Jonesy, which is going to bring us to our next fatal error. This is our bonus mistake, and it shows you how important AI is, George, that we have a mistake, a warning here. Do not make this mistake of fearing or ignoring AI. And Jonesy, you want to cover that and kind of sing us out of here, as it were?
Yeah, if we are going to enumerate that 10th error, it's failing to understand and implement AI into your workflow. And it's typically out of fear, or more commonly, misunderstanding. Whether that misunderstanding is philosophical and that, oh, AI is going to replace us, or it's going to take our jobs, or it's coming out with garbage. It can't replace artistry. It can't replace creativity. All of those are actually kind of factually correct. So the way I see AI, and I'm very passionate about using it, about pontificating its efficacy, is that it is not meant to replace us. It is meant to leverage our skill sets. It's meant to extend our reach, to extend our creativity, to remove barriers in certain creative processes that exist, to eliminate redundant tasks, which is perfectly fine. You eliminate redundant tasks, what do? It frees up your mental bandwidth for the creativity and the solutions-based thinking to come in. So AI is a very broad topic. We can talk about language models. We can talk about automation tools for video, for audio, whatever. Um, you know, we're constrained with time right here. So it's my takeaway is that learn the basics. I want everybody to learn the basics of AI, how to use it, how to use it correctly, how to use it authentically. All right, used incorrectly, AI could deteriorate. It can diminish and disparage your brand identity and brand voice. You don't want that. Now, entrepreneur, you have created this brand, you have this product, you have the solution, you have your audience. Well, don't diminish it with AI. If I see one more social media post or email that starts out with, I hope this email finds you well, unlock your creativity. Well, chatbot wrote that, didn't it? So we came up with that conversion chemistry, what I call the authentic infinite prompting concept. All right, there's 4 parts to it. And just like anything else, garbage in, garbage out. So the more intricate and detailed prompting you put into AI, and we're going to use chatbot or Goody AI. It's one we love using because it sort of uses this framework, which is give chatbot a role. All right, this is your prompt. You're going to give it a role. Chatbot, you are now a CEO. You are now an accountant. You are now a content creator. Whatever the role is, doesn't matter. You're going to have a use case for it. This is my brand. All right, and this is called seeding AI. Seeding, like SEEDING. You're priming it. You're pumping it up. So you're going to pump it up with your brand, even if that just means copying your brand statement in there. Give it a task. Okay, I need 30 days worth of social media posts. The ideas, not the actual posts, just the ideas. And this is my target audience. So those are the 4 ingredients. We've got the role, we've got the task, we've got the audience, and the format. Let it do its thing. What did that do? That just took 30 days of planning off of your plate, out of your head. And now you can focus on your message, your creativity for each one of those line items that GPT spits out. You can even take each one of those and say, all right, well, now I want 5 ideas for that. And let GPT pick the best one and then roll with it. Then write the thing, then record the thing. You just saved hours of brainstorming and prepping and outlining. That's where the true value is.
Frank, AI, how has AI changed your life, or how do you think it'll change people's lives?
Well, I can tell you what it's done for me. I found it a drag and a hassle to write. I kind of lost my muse as far as writing to my list, George. I felt like after 20 something years, I had pretty much said everything that I had to say. But I played around with Chat, GBT, and Goody, which we love and endorse. And then Jonesy did something interesting. He set up FrankBot. He took 15 or 20 of my old newsletters, fed them into the machine, and started teaching the machine to write in my style. Now, what does that do? Well, am I going to have that computer thingy, GPT, write everything? No. But what it does is gives me a good outline. It gives me a good head start on a subject. I'll say, let's talk motivation today. I want to talk about why you need to make your first sale quickly. It'll give me ideas, and then I go in and I sprinkle Frankie dust over it. I personalize that, and I make it's the best of man and machine, right, Jonesy? It's like, it comes up with ideas that are in my head already that I might not remember or necessarily be motivated to or inspired to or think through to put in a certain order. And then it gives me that. And then from there, I go in and just make it so that it's more me. It does 80 to 90% of the work for me. I don't ever see it writing out newsletters like that are me, like with no need for me. I mean, I could be wrong. I mean, I've seen the Terminator movies and I know how they all end. I'm hoping we don't go down that path, but I'm saying this is a compliment. It's a writer's tool. It teaches me to think more clearly, to put things in order. Because I'm an ideas man. I'm a salesman by nature, and I mean that in a good way. Like, I love people. I love presenting solutions. I love talking to people and everything else. I don't like doing the hard work. I have accounting and programming and coding. That's just not me. It's not me. So the AI part of that steps in, complements and compensates so that I can be the best me possible. Nothing to be afraid of, folks. It's not going to, tap into your bank account and write 50 different checks or sell your kids on eBay or anything like that. It's just a tool like an autoresponder or a web browser is. Only it does some pretty wild stuff once you give it a little bit of time. And it isn't hard to learn at all. And again, conversion chemistry is the place to go to get a good overview of what AI does and can do for you. And more importantly, what it doesn't do. And that's where Jonesy comes in. That's why you get two of us when you pick up conversion chemistry, because I don't have all the answers. He doesn't either. But we put our two heads together, we can pretty well cover most of what you need to know, if not all of it.
All right. Well, let's wrap it up. I already wrote down Hermits Unite. It's kind of funny, Jonesy. I'm thinking there's something there. I don't know. Any final words from both of you?
I'm going to relate it back to GPT. It's something that can be universally applied. Is be kind, because it costs nothing. Be kind to each other. Be kind to ChatGPT, because you never know. And it costs nothing to be wrong and be kind. But if I'm right, and this thing does take over the world, I'm going to be the favorite pet.
Just like Kent Brockman from The Simpsons, right?
I, for one, welcome my new Frankbot overlord.
That's it. We laugh about that all the time. I mean, it's, I guess I would tell people, George, if a bankrupt truck driver from New Jersey can do this, you guys can too. There's nothing special or different about me. Don't be afraid to fail, falling forward. And what that means is, if you're running a race and you've got a mile to go and you only get 100 yards down the road before you're out of breath and you trip and fall down, you're still 100 yards ahead of where you were 5 minutes ago. Rome wasn't built in a day. You're not going to get rich overnight. That's pretty much BS. And be kind to yourself as well as others. Because again, I guarantee you, if somebody talked to you like you talk to yourself, you would punch them in the face. Or if you're nonviolent like me, pretty much, you would never speak to them again. You wouldn't take that kind of abuse from anybody else. So damn well, don't take it from yourself. Learn to love yourself, forgive yourself, and celebrate your strengths and acknowledge your weaknesses. Every superhero has a weakness, George. There's nobody Superman, kryptonite. I mean, able to leap tall buildings, and this rare metal freaks the dude out. Everybody's got something. Nobody's going to be perfect, So end of sermon. I need a dark room and I need to lie down now. I'm drained from this because I gave my all, and Jonesy did too. Because we love you people and we believe in you. And I know George does too. That's why he had us on the show, because he figures these two guys can help you. And I hope you will let us help you, because we care. Go figure. We actually care about people. What a concept in this day and age. Just like you do, George. And I know that. Big fan.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate your time. Let's do this again. I see this being a regular podcast for us to talk about various obstacles and even doing like maybe even a hot seat, inviting anyone from my community on, and where there will be 4 of us on the screen. And so we could hot seat and kind of workshop some business owners in my audience, and even those who are contemplating starting a business who might have been bankrupt truck drivers from New Jersey. So that's a pretty humble title, and I, like all of us, have humble titles and humble beginnings. And I just want you guys know I appreciate you. And for my audience, don't forget conversionchemistry.com. Use the promo code Bruno2024 for a 90% discount on the product. Remember, all you need is a minimum viable product or service. You literally, we hear this month after month after month at the mastermind. Get an audience, have something to sell, and have a conversion system. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time, and we'll do it again.
Thank you, George. And thanks everybody for watching and listening. We appreciate you.